The two films that will be investigated within this comparative study will be Bicycle Thieves, directed by Vittorio de Sica, and Roma, directed by Alfonso Cuaron. Within both of these films, the film theory of realism is extremely prevalent. Realism in film stresses the importance of cinema's ability to record or capture reality. Bicycle Thieves is an Italian neo-realist film. According to Schirmer Encyclopedia, neo-realism was formed post-World War II, and it focused heavily on the social problems and complications of post-war Italy by attempting to accurately depict reality. Roma, while also realism, falls more into the category of poetic realism, a French version of realism formed in the 1930s. However, the setting of the film is Mexico, and was made in 2018 by a Mexican director. Classic Art Films describes poetic realism as having a heightened aestheticism that occasionally draws attention to the more representational aspects of film. The main difference between the two forms of realism is that poetic realism is more intentional, while neo-realism aims to depict the world as it is. Through these two films, there are three main cultural contexts that each film can relate to. The first is economic, as the characters within each film struggle due to their personal economic status, as well as the economic status of their environment. The second is social, as the characters pertain to certain values and traditions displayed in the community they are a part of. The final context is technological, as the technological advancements between each film's creation affect the cinematography within each film. The way symbolism is presented and explored within each film varies due to the deviating forms of realism. As Roma is poetic realism, it is much more intentional with its symbolism. Meanwhile, Bicycle Thieves' symbolism is a product of the setting that relates to the time period it depicts. In the case of these two films, the use of symbolism within the mise-en-scène of each film conveys a sense of societal injustice. Within this shot of Roma, there are many symbols that hint at the quality of life of the main character, Cleo. There are 3 separate bird cages, all 3 of which contain birds trapped inside. These birds relate to Cleo working as a maid for a family that is of a higher class status than her. Like the birds, Cleo feels trapped and stuck in one place. Cleo's living space is up a set of rusty metal stairs. Her living space is contrasted by the living space of the family she works for, which is modern and new. The tricycle is an indication of the prevalence of the rich children that she works for. The bicycle is representative of class. In the higher and upper classes, bicycles are seen as a form of exercise or entertainment. However, in the lower class, a bicycle can be detrimental to a person as a form of transportation. These symbols were intentionally placed within the mise-en-scène by Cuaron to convey how the living quality of people in the lower class of Mexico is an injustice to the societal structure of Mexico in the 1970s. Similar to Roma, Bicycle Thieves also include symbolism that represent the struggle of people with lower class status. Within this shot, there are symbols that indicate the low class status of characters. One of the men wears a jacket with a large hole in the side. This is symbolic of the idea that the man has nothing else to wear, and that he is forced to wear the jacket with the hole as he cannot afford more clothing. Another man wears a work jumpsuit. This is symbolic of the continuous work that people within the lower class must endure in order to make enough money to feed themselves. All 4 of the characters are looking at an item that none of them can afford, a bicycle. In this film, bicycles are detrimental as they symbolize hope. The protagonist needs a bike in order to do his job. Therefore, the bicycle is hope that the protagonist can properly provide for his family and make his way out of the lower class. De Sica placed these symbols within the mise-en-scène to convey a realistic depiction of post-war Italy. These symbols are less intentional and relate more to conveying reality. Within each of the films, the narrative structure of the film indicates the perspectives of the characters within the film. The camera will pan to reveal something to the characters before it is revealed to the audience. Often, the audience will only know information based on the perspective of the characters. This form of narrative structure is especially prevalent in realist films, as the audience knowing the same amount of information as the character is detrimental to the film capturing reality. However, there is a difference in the way perspective is conveyed in Roma and the Bicycle Thieves. This scene in Roma depicts the Corpus Christi massacre that took place in June of 1971. The camera is focused on Cleo and Teresa inside a store. Characters begin to get excited and look out the window. The camera pans to look out the window to reveal the massive group of protesters running in panic in the street below. In this case, the characters within the scene were aware of the protesters before the audience were, as the camera prevented the audience from seeing them. A few minutes later, a similar instance occurs, where Cleo and Teresa are held at gunpoint by a mysterious undercover policeman. The face of the policeman is hidden out of frame, but then the camera pans to reveal that the man is the father of Cleo's unborn baby, Fermin. Both Clea and Teresa were aware of Fermin's presence before the audience were. The effect of this narrative structure is that it suddenly reveals shocking information to the audience in a very sudden moment. While Roma hid certain events outside of the frame until they were revealed to the audience, Bicycle Thieves does the complete opposite. All the information within the frame is revealed to the audience at almost the same time as the characters. This is shown within this scene. The man that stole Antonio's bicycle has an interaction with an old man. The camera is from the perspective of Antonio, and all the information revealed to Antonio is simultaneously revealed to the audience. The audience is always given the same amount of information as Antonio. The only instance in which this narrative structure is broken is when Antonio's bike is stolen. Due to the establishment of the two men working together to steal the bike, only the audience is aware that Antonio is being tricked. For each of the films, there is a massive time difference between when the films were created. Roma was released in 2018, while Bicycle Thieves was released in 1948. In the 7-year difference between the films, new technology and filming techniques were introduced to the film industry that allowed directors to express new ideas through the medium of film. Therefore, there are many shots Cuaron was able to implement in Roma that De Sica was unable to implement in Bicycle Thieves due to the technology not being available yet. One such shot that was only possible with technology available in 2018 was this long tracking shot down a street in Mexico City. The camera follows Cleo down a street as she chases children she's supposed to be caring for. As the camera tracks, many things within the mise-en-scène, such as characters and props, come into frame that reveal the vibrant and kinetic energy of Mexico City. Through this tracking shot, Cuaron can capture a faithful depiction of Mexico in real life. In Bicycle Thieves, a shot like this would be impossible, as the technology of 1948 would not allow a tracking shot of this length. Another shot within Roma that is only made possible by the technology of current day are the numerous one-shot sequences throughout the film. One-shot sequences are especially prevalent within realist films, as the act of cutting can take away from the realism attempting to be depicted within a scene. The majority of the shots within Roma are long one-shot sequences that go on for minutes. This shot of Cleo saving the children from drowning and crying on the beach is a 5-minute and 16-second uncut shot. While Bicycle Thieves also includes shots that are atypically long for a conventional film, such as this shot of 4 characters in a marketplace, they do not go to the length as the shots within Roma. For Roma, Cuaron was able to set up elaborate rigs for the cameras that could move in multiple directions and angles. That type of camera versatility was not available for De Sica to use in 1948. Therefore, Cuaron's one-shot sequences can display a form of realism that De Sica was unable to exhibit. While both of these films display the realist theory, the way they go about exploring the idea of realism within film is vastly different. De Sica in Bicycle Thieves makes it a goal to depict post-war Italy in full, and everything within the frame is set to convey the economic and societal status of the setting within the film. Meanwhile, Cuaron in Roma is much more intentional with how he goes about displaying realism, and makes use of cinematic devices to display the economic and social tendencies of the setting. The technology that was available to Cuaron allowed him to create shots that were much more kinetic and lengthier compared to De Sica. The realist theory is an extremely important theory. Depicting the world as it is through the medium of film can be a vital way in exploring certain ideas and concepts that many people may be unfamiliar with. In the case of Roma and Bicycle Thieves, the audience is transported into the world of someone living in the lower class, and the audience could experience the struggle that comes with this way of life through the realist theory.